So it's Rob from Permaboss. I'm going to take you on a quick video tour, and I got to do it quick because it's cold. I don't want you to be deceived. I'm wearing a suit jacket, but I'm still in jeans because we are in the rag trade after all. I just don't see it in the video. In 1999, September 1999, I started the business, and then in 2000 December, sorry, 1999 December, I actually incorporated it. And I was in the house for about 3 months, and then I moved about a block away, and within a year and a half I moved over here, unit number 15. And if you just take a look down here, it was like a small 1,400 square foot building, and it was about 14 feet high. Now can you rotate around the camera? And this is the building we are at right now. So I'm just going to walk across. So this is 235, that was 230, and we're unit 18, we're not unit 15, and for those of you wondering, no, I haven't sold my neighbors the laser yet. I can barely get them in the store, can't even get them into the shop, even though we're 20 feet away into the trade show. But I did make them some nice shirts, but that's the problem I face in the industry, is the stubbornness of the embroiderers not willing to change, because they basically say, hey, I haven't paid for these machines that I'm making $35, $40 an hour with. Why should I buy something else, something new? And I'm guaranteeing you that in 5 to 7 years, an embroidery business that's viable will have to have some form of laser and multimedia technology besides the standard stuff. So we're unit 18. Just take a look over here. So we're unit number 18, and I'm doing this video partly because I've seen a couple emails circulated by one of our competitors, Beto USA, and they're telling basically the public that we're making the lasers in the garage. And I'm kind of incensed, but actually I'm not that incensed because the people he's telling it to actually purchased from us. And I'm going to give you a quick tour of the place so you can see there's actually no cars in my garage. And Permaboss now has unit 18, 21, and 23, so I'll give you a tour of that. Sign isn't even put up yet, but it'll be up there, okay? Take a look down here, which is at the end. Okay, right behind me is the Sprinter van that we use to deliver the vehicles, the lasers, sorry. It's getting cold, so I got to get inside here. And there's our unit right there. Yes, I do drive a Mercedes. I hope you don't hold it against me. And it is made in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I had the choice between a Cadillac and that, and I picked that because that's what I wanted. But it is an American-made car. It's kind of important. And as I walk through the office, I want to show you why I started building the lasers. Number one was I needed to do things for customers that my suppliers in Europe weren't doing. And every time I would tell them, they knew everything better than us. So I'm Austrian, I get to critique people, and you know, it took 100 years to get a drink cup holder in a German car. Why? Because we don't need that when we're driving full speed on the Autobahn, you know. So you can't convince people if they're not face-to-face with the customer. And when we started as a small business, we were direct with the customer, and the customer would say, hey, how come you can't do this? Why aren't you doing that? And I'd ask questions, and that's the reason we built the equipment. It's that what we were selling, what we were importing, wasn't quite hitting the mark. It's very hard to convince Europeans that we need to do technical textiles when they're still wearing cotton all over the place and they don't have all these dry wicking products, and it's not their fashion or their product or their concept. They don't understand why we need extra space when America needs 2X, 3X, 4X soft shell jackets. Where do you put that jacket? You need the space and the room for that. So if you don't build something from the ground up for our industry, it's not going to be the same. And as I walk through the office, I'll keep throwing in, you know, what we get and what we bought and where it came from, so you understand that, you know, my philosophy is if I don't do something and my neighbor's out of a job, soon enough I'm going to be out of a job. And that's why the lasers, the rhinestone machines, and the embossing machines, and the hooping presses we make are made, you know, fundamentally with 65 to 85% US content, made in Canada. It's NAFTA friendly. And as I'll walk through, I'm going to drop names and show you different people and what their role is in the company and what their designation is, so you can see that we are not making machines in a garage, okay? It's kind of important. Come on in. This is our vicious guard dog, Maxie. Come here, girl. Come on. Come on. See, she's going to lick your leg. She's not that old. She's 3 years old. She's a lot of fun. Come on, Maxie. Come on in. Come behind us. Jane, you got to say hello to the rest of America. Say welcome to the garage.
Welcome to the garage.
Okay, so Jane is pretty much one of my right hands and does a lot of the admin, etc. There's a few changes because we're just adding in office space and new desk, etc. But I'll walk you through. gentleman that's filming sits here. That's Alex, customer support, technical training on the software, etc. There's the wall of fame that's always at the shows here. And we'll take you upstairs to my office in the boardroom in just a minute. This is where Sonny sits. He's an attorney, and he's working on a franchise program for one of our vendors here, so he's got some office space that he uses. Bankham is a mechanical engineer. How you doing? Good. So he designs all the metal work, etc., and he's also has tool and die maker skills, so he's working at the back making the stuff. Stewart's in sales. You met him at the trade shows.
Be the contractor and we can show you the revenue.
How you doing, Tom?
Client.
Tom's a mechanical engineer, and he runs all the production, right?
Yep.
So let's go meet some of the other guys at the back.
Okay.
You want to come in here? Colleen?
Yep.
It's not that Colleen doesn't have a lot of work. It's just that we're adding 3 more people, so we have to add this office space here. Colleen's been with me for many, many years. Now she's back full-time. She took a 2-year break, but we'd love to have her back. And she'll be probably the first line that you need as any of the questions you have. It'll be directed through her, and she'll get you the right person all the time. This is the video. Remember I told you about the email where they said we make stuff in a garage?
Yes.
So we just want to get rid of that myth, all right? Watch Maxie. Come on back. So as you go through here, there will be parts that will be faded out because I don't want to actually educate the people I'm trying to debunk their myths about. But we have a 6-head Barradin. Barradin's one of my favorite machines. Just in all the years I've been to a lot of the places, you see Barradin with the most successful people, Tajima, and then it goes down in brand and ranking, but they're pretty reliable. I have it not to do a production, but basically to show and proof of concept, etc. Here you have the laser you see at the shows. Remember that the touch screen is always included. Here you have the hooping press. The hooping press has the laser built in, and the idea with the hooping press is you always have both hands free, and you're using your leg muscle, your biggest muscle. So the main idea is that when your employee is driving home and they see the billboard of "Do we suck 'em in hell lawyers? Have you been injured at work? You have pain?" We want to prevent you, the employer, of getting a workman's comp claim for tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, repetitive stress. And with the laser, you're going to be hooping 4 to 6 times more per hour, so most people get it. And one of the common questions is, ooh, is this the new mini laser? It has a laser in it, the visual crosshair laser, but no, it's not the same as the NGL next generation laser, okay? So follow me back through here. These are the machines we used to import, essentially, and we typically can trade them in. We recondition them. Everything goes out with a warranty when we have the chance to trade in. One of my famous lines has always been, you very, very rarely find used equipment from Permaboss for sale. And our competitors say that they basically stole that line, but the reality is if I go on to the used equipment websites or the blogs or the embroidery, I will find competitive equipment all the time on a significant basis. I see bridge lasers, the $200,000 lasers for sale for $150,000. They went bankrupt already. And that has to do not maybe with the person that's selling it, but it has to do with, do they teach you how to make money with their machines? So follow me through here. Here's the endless robot that we were distributing for many, many years. It's a 4-color station. But I mean, these things were sold up to $100,000 as the US dollar went low and the euro went high. And the amount of automation in it was insane. The whole cabinet here is filled with electronics. And I'll give you a really quick shot, and I'll fade out the rest of it. But I'll show you how one card that we have made in the United States replaces that whole cabinet of electronics. It's insane. But that takes the price, that takes maybe $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 of equipment costs out. When I sold the Italian lasers on the, just go over here for 1 sec, maybe I can insert a picture later on. Not only was this jam-packed with electronics, but they had a control panel underneath there on the side that was jam-packed with electronics, and then they had a cabinet over at the back that was jam-filled with electronics. And then when we installed it, we had issues because, all the Italian lasers are made basically from the same region, and the philosophy and the fundamentals are the same. But you'd have to speak with Italy because you could never get the information from a tech here. And to this day, they're always phoning and getting that help over there. When it's made here, and every single wire is labeled here, and the schematic is done here, and the people that make it are qualified, and the answers come from here, and there's no messages in a foreign language, and it's written in English, the software, and the people that answer the phone are in English, and that makes a big difference when you're buying it. So when it's made all under one house and it's manufactured direct, you eliminate the middleman, you have a better quality product at a better price. That's the bottom line. So you've seen all the demos in the video there. Over here, we've got Danny, one of our programmers. This is the NGR robot. The NGR is the latest thing, next generation rhinestone, and I buy the frame and the carousel with the discs from Asia. I go over there a couple times a year. I have a personal inspection, and no, I don't own the factory. I hate when people say it, because nobody but China owns what's in China. So when somebody says it's my factory in China, it's just a bunch of hogwash, because they don't own anything. It's your supplier over there. So, I didn't like the software that they make. I didn't like that you need to be a bloody engineer, and it's really complex, and it's not something simple that you're going to learn very easily. So because of the cost of machining and the cost of tool and die in North America, we buy the machine as a frame and as a carousel. And then after that, every stitch and every wire is made here. The controls, all these things that go on here. You can buy these buttons, and they will have a CSA sticker. CSA sticker is Canadian Safety Standards Association. It's like the UL of the US. The Canadians are actually the highest. When you can pass the Canadian standards, it passes for Europe and America, and every state and every country you can put it in, it'll pass or exceed it. CE is the certification for the EU, for Europe. But that's a self-declaration. So I kind of laugh at it, because when you buy something from Asia, they say, oh, it's CE certified. That's wonderful, but we're not in Europe. Second of all, it's self-declaration. So what that means is that until I get caught, there's nothing you can do. I can say whatever I want, and they say, oh, we don't make that anymore, we don't sell it. And when you buy components from Asia, they'll have a marking on it, and it'll say, CSA or UL or CE, but you don't know half the time if it's really a legit one. And so when you touch and feel this button, or if you turn this thread too tight, this isn't metal. This is a piece of plastic. When you turn it too tight, it strips off. The whole thing is a piece of junk. So, what happens when you have a $25,000, $30,000, $70,000, $50,000 machine and it does not working properly? Invariably, it comes down to a switch that you got for China for 50 cents when I could have bought one from the supply house in Atlanta, which is where we get most of our electronics from, and that has a guarantee, and that isn't, that has a standard that far exceeds what you get randomly stuck in a machine from overseas. So, I find that CE is a standard, but we exceed that standard. I never ever see, I come from a medical background, I never see at a trade show a machine with the electrical hydro approval. You can get away with a lot in the U.S. going to these shows, but if you actually called them in and said, does that meet the standard of the state? I mean, the whole show would be chaos, because a lot of the machines there that aren't made in the States wouldn't even qualify electrically. But since you're not doing open heart surgery with the thing, it can get through. And the show is not going to go create havoc by getting the safety inspector in and then shutting the show down because half the people can't show. But that's the reality. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's the case. And then when you have issues, you have 30 cent, 50 cent, $2 parts that when you buy them for $4 or $5, they'll last millions, and you'll never ever in my lifetime or your lifetime have that switch fail. It's 1 in thousands that might fail, 1 in 10,000 that might fail. So Danny is, Danny, what's your certification?
Microsoft Certified, an application developer.
And so Danny is the man behind the laser software. Danny's the man behind the rhinestone software. Danny's the man behind the embossing software. Okay, so let's follow along here. Watch you don't trip on the thing. Oh, listen, this part you got to fade out, and I'll just show you basic parts. Here is a universal laser power supply, and I'm going to cover this up. You won't see it, but then you go into the optics that are made in Michigan and the beam conditioning. Then you go into a scan head, which is from Massachusetts. You go into the brains behind the laser, which is basically made in a Western state. I don't want to tell my competitors where it's made, but it's 100% made in the USA. And it can control 3 to 11 or 12 axes based on what we need to function, etc. And then every one of the components here is coming from a supplier in the US. and every single wire is absolutely labeled. There's a schematic to everything. So if you're in Australia, if you're in South Africa, if you're Long Island, California, or if you're in Washington, if we have a problem and we didn't find it here, I can get any technician anywhere to basically go to this point and to that point and absolutely define and determine what it is. But the main thing is that with our software, we have a diagnostic remote control. There's a little button there, and then instantaneously we can see that from anywhere else. So listen, I want to apologize for one thing. I want to apologize that I have a bit of a mess because we don't have possession of Unit 21 until later in the month. So we have enormous amount of growth. I'm not complaining, but you know what? I'm not perfect. I'm not able to keep everything like a NASCAR shop because we're not that stage yet. So when I do a follow-up video, then you know I can spill something on the floor and lick it off like in those car things. All right. By the way, the shelving, okay, is Ready Rack from the USA. The forklift is from Raymond. There's a couple forklifts here. Here's the second machine. Here's the second programmer. Hattie,
yes.
What's your qualification?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. I also a Microsoft Certified Professional.
So I don't know if you heard that. You got to say that louder because the microphone's here. Where are you?
I have Bachelor of Science, Computer Science. I'm also Microsoft Certified Professional.
And your habit and your hobbies like mathematical stuff and problems, and you're a .NET guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so these two guys are the guys that actually tell me how the watch works when I want to know only what time it is. And at the end of the day, the product they make with the touch screen is how the time on the watch. You just press it with your finger. They have made it so that there's virtually no words on our software. It's all picture oriented. Any country, any language, any mentality, from rocket scientists to whatever, can run that machine. We have illiterate people in Indonesia who get paid $6 a day who use our equipment, and they can't read any language, even their own language, but they can run the laser very proficiently like anybody else here. Follow me through. Okay, can you just get underneath here for 1 second? Hey, Barry, why are you wearing that hood?
You need it.
Oh, I made it. Well, we had it. Okay, so Barry's electrical engineer, Tosif's electrical engineer. And right down here, get in this case. There's a lack of room here right now, but that's blank. We put it all in. Do you have any control boards, any panels upstairs?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to do a tour up there then. What do you do? Why are you here? Why do you got to talk out loud. Why do you like to do what you do, and why did you pick working for me?
Well, it's a great guy to work for, really, and I enjoy doing electrical installations, panel building, and I'm motivated to work here.
Are you having the freedom to do things perfectly?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah? Is that important to you?
Of course.
What about shortcuts? We can save some money doing this and that.
No shortcuts.
How come?
It doesn't work out well in the end.
Okay.
Things break and it doesn't work out.
Okay. Tosif, you hardly ever talk, and I get you at the trade shows. You agree with him?
I agree, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah? And you're an electrical engineer too, right?
As well, yeah.
Okay, so these guys are dressed nice, but they do get their hands dirty. This is the other part of the garage. You just walk through where we broke through from Unit 18 into Unit 23. And then if you just take a quick shot across here, we're doubling up the size. And again, I apologize, but we're trying to make deadlines right now. We're out of space, so we're having the other space. And the other one will be just strictly for the raw materials coming in so the guys can work easier, cleaner, faster, etc. So now you're basically in the tool and die shop, the machine shop here. If you look at some of the presses and some of the machines, they're almost all American. All the racking here, the 24-foot ceiling, is all the North American stuff. The CNC machine, this first isn't made, but the Matoyo stuff, yeah. So this is one of the only things that isn't actually, made in America. Let me follow back here. So Dharm is a mechanical engineer and tool and die, and he basically makes all the parts. Can you just look at the wall there? So everything is cut from aluminum, and it's actually overbuilt. The laser could be even lighter. It's already a third lighter than what was made by my provider in the past. We didn't copy anything because I didn't want to inherit all those issues that I dealt with zigzagging across the country repairing stuff. I couldn't believe some of the things I was seeing. and it gave me gray hair, so I had to change it, make it myself, make it simpler. I mean, the idea was make the laser under 8 feet, make it single-phase electricity, make it in three pieces in one crate, and assemble it in 90 minutes. And that's what we do, you know, better than anybody else in the market right now. And I look forward to when I start to see stuff. I hate that when our competitors find out that we're selling a machine to a potential customer of theirs, they keep saying, oh, we have something that's coming, it's 2-3 months away, we've got it. Well, it doesn't take 2-3 months to ship anything from Europe. It can go on a plane, it can be here in 72 hours. And when you make statements like that, maybe you should give the customer a brochure, a picture, a video, or something to show there's actually something made. So try not to sell pie in the sky. Let's compete fairly. Let's do what we say and actually show something. Up here are all rhinestone machines ready to be basically wired and sent out, and it's pretty much everything sold. We are on an 8-week turnover essentially, but we're getting it down next year to less than 5 weeks, probably in the neighborhood of 3.5-4 weeks. All right. The CNC machine is made by Multicam. It's made in Texas. So everything that I can possibly get, either the supplier is American-owned company, whether it's the metal suppliers, etc. And I mean, they're buying it from the Canadian branch. The machines, the tooling, everything we get it from here, because I figure that if I make an extraordinary effort to make the machines a high U.S. content, then we're all going to benefit from it. The problem right now is we're buying too much stuff from overseas. We're not making enough stuff here, and then all the good jobs are gone. So far, you haven't seen anybody that hasn't been, except, Jane, Colleen, myself, don't have degrees. But everybody else that you saw in the video so far is a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, and they're in my garage basically, all right? So then we have another showroom at the front. We have a Yale forklift, that's American. And then, here's the raw aluminum you get. We start off with. It's ThyssenKrupp, and that's what we start to make the laser with. Honestly, you could make it with half the thickness and get away with it, but the laser has to outlive me, has to outlive you. I want the thing to last 10, 15 years. If I use the American suppliers, Sinrad or Universal, then it's basically plug and play the way we designed it, so you can just keep putting in laser tubes, and the thing's going to have a huge long... Got it? Okay, so I just wanted to show you boxes. Watch out, Alex. I just wanted to show you the boxes where we pack the lasers in, so there's always stuff ready to go. Here are suppliers, empty boxes, basically going out to recycling, and this is the area where we do the crating of the product, and then either at the truck loading dock or the driving loading dock, depending whether, in the New York States, Pennsylvania, Ohio, we deliver it with our van, and we show up. The rest of this stuff we ship by truck, and then we fly in the person. So basically, anything from 8-9 hour radius from Toronto is what we deliver in person, basically. And that's it. So the main idea is, I would like other people, if they're going to say things, maybe back up a claim. Just don't make statements when it's foolish, if you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar and what you say is completely ridiculous. The point is, if you want something that has a 2-year unlimited use warranty, that's with all our machines. If you want something that's made here, you want something done in your language and the design and everything. Oh, let me show you one more thing. It's something small, but it's what matters to me. Take a look at this cover up close. This is the back side of the laser cover. Can you see the struts here? It's totally unnecessary. But you know what? When you add that in, have you ever had a dent in your car? And the dent in the car actually makes that structure even stronger. So you got a nice curve, and somebody hits you, you have a dent. It's very difficult to get that dent out, and it makes the structure stronger. So these basic struts or trusses here, they are like a C channel, and it's totally overbuilt for what it needs to do. You're never going to hang off of it. It's not going to take bullets, and it's a thicker gauge than it needs to be. But guess what? I'm never going to have it look crappy, be dented, or anything. When you watch the video from Julie in Hawaii, she wasn't excited when she got the laser. I was disappointed because she said, hey, I was excited when I watched all the videos, that's why I got it. But she did say, it's unbelievable. Because her and her husband unpacked it and basically had it pretty much set up before we got there. Some of the people do that sometimes. She was blown away at the integrity and the structure and the solidity and the quality of the fit and the finish. And that's hard to find. That's done all here. So the only thing we don't do in this shop is we don't weld, and we don't do any of the painting or the powder coating. That's all done outside, because there's people who professionally do that day in, day out, who can do that far better than we can ever do it. So anyways, that's the quick tour. There's a couple things to be shaded out because I don't want to educate. I want to keep, the economies in our countries growing and moving. But if you have any questions, feel free to call me. Okay, thanks a lot for your time.